All right, let's start with the basics and the bonkers President Trump is, once again, trying to buy Greenland. Yeah, you heard me right. This isn't just a rerun of that 2019 headline-baiting moment this time. The White House looks like it's making actual phone calls, not just wild tweets. Now, you might be thinking, isn't Greenland like a giant ice cube? Technically, yes, but it's also 3 times the size of Texas, loaded with rare earth minerals and perched right at the top of the world. That's what military strategists call geopolitical real estate. Basically, oceanfront property if the ocean is made of icebergs. So, why now? Trump's just kicked off his second term and fresh off the Venezuela operation. Don't get me started on that one, he's telling reporters. We're going to do something on Greenland, whether they like it or not. Cue the international facepalms and, honestly, my jaw hitting the floor. Would you believe he called anything less than U.S. control unacceptable? I mean, that's a hard sell at your local open house, let alone to Denmark. The setup here. America's eyeing the crown jewel of the Arctic, and everyone's suddenly scrambling to find a parka. Now, let's add some technical lingo. Autonomous territory. That means Greenland runs its own government, but Denmark handles foreign policy. And then there's rare earth elements. Think of them as the secret spice in your smartphone, your wind turbine, your electric car. So, Trump's not just after an ice sheet. He wants the keys to the tech kingdom. But here's the conflict. Denmark's like, hard pass. Greenland's leaders? Even colder 85% of them want to stay with Denmark. Here's where it gets wild. Imagine the U.S. flag flying over a landscape where the biggest danger is falling into a crevasse, not into a trade war. But the resolution? Well, for now, it's just diplomatic freeze, pun intended. No one's budging, and honestly, it's starting to look like America brought a checkbook to a snowball fight. So listeners, what would you do if you were president of Greenland? Cash that $700 billion offer or stick with Denmark and the cozy Danish pastries? The stage is set. The ice is definitely not melting, and the world is watching in disbelief. Sound effect, news ticker with chilly wind. Let me tell you a story picture. The White House, January 14th. Tensions so thick you could skate on it. There's VP J.D. Vance on one side, Secretary of State Marco Rubio on another, and Denmark's foreign minister looking like he'd rather be literally anywhere else. Toss in Greenland's own officials who, by the way, have been getting more airtime this week than ever before, and it's international drama at its chilliest. The conflict? Trump's team floating the idea of conquering Greenland. Denmark responds with, "Are you kidding me?" In as many diplomatic words as possible, they end up agreeing to a working group that's diplomatic code for, let's drag this out until someone gets bored or elections roll around. But here's the technical part. NATO's Collective Defense Clause, Article 5, says if one member's attacked, they all defend. So why are European NATO allies, France, Germany, Norway, sending troops up for joint exercises on Greenland? It's almost like they're preparing to defend against their own ally. That's what I call a paradox, like joining a snowball fight and realizing you're on the same team as your target. Meanwhile, Trump's not backing down. He's got his sights set on controlling what military strategists call the Arctic Gateway. Think of it as the only open door in a fortress made of ice. The stakes are real. Whoever controls Greenland controls a chunk of the world's future shipping lanes and crucial mineral supply. But the resolution? Everyone's still sitting at the table, sipping lukewarm coffee, pretending this isn't the weirdest negotiation since the Louisiana Purchase. Now, you might be wondering, how does a friendly alliance turn into a friendly standoff? Well, that's 2026 for you. Pause, light laugh. Personally, I'm just waiting for the next round of awkward photo ops, maybe with everyone wearing parkas and forced smiles. All right, let's talk dollars and cents, or maybe nonsense. Trump's team is reportedly floating a plan to pay every Greenlander a lump sum if they agree to secede from Denmark and join the U.S. I'm not talking pocket change estimates put the total buyout at up to $700 billion. That's more than the entire U.S. defense budget. Now, you might be thinking, is there a coupon code for entire islands? But seriously, this is a mind-boggling figure. Here's the setup. The idea is to sway 57,000 Greenlanders, most of whom are Inuit with promises of generational wealth. The conflict? Greenlanders overwhelmingly say no thanks. Polls show roughly 85% of them want to stay with Denmark. Not even a blank check is enough to swap out Smørrebrød for hamburgers, apparently. Let's get technical. Economists call this a lump sum transfer. Think of it like an offer where you win the lottery, but the only condition is you have to move your house to Florida. And the resource nationalism idea comes up, Greenlanders wanting control over their own minerals, their own land, their own destiny. Resolution? Well, the money is there, but the hearts and minds aren't. Americans also seem cold on the idea. Only about 17% support the purchase, according to the latest polls. It's like trying to sell ice in Antarctica. The deal might look juicy on paper, but in reality, it's about as likely as palm trees sprouting in Nuuk. So, listeners, would you take the buyout or stick with your homeland? Hit me up in the comments. Pause. Personally, I'd want at least a lifetime supply of Arctic char sushi thrown in. Here's where things get extra frosty. The real reason for all this drama isn't just land, it's leverage. Greenland is sitting on a treasure trove of rare earths that the world's tech giants crave. But it's also smack in the middle of what the Pentagon calls the Arctic chessboard. That's where countries jockey for control over sea lanes that will open as the ice melts. Think of it like the Panama Canal, but with polar bears. Now, the conflict. The U.S. argues that if America doesn't step in, Russia or China will. Trump calls it a national security imperative. But Denmark insists there's no imminent threat, no Russian destroyers, no Chinese submarines peeking out of the ice. So, is this preemptive defense or preemptive real estate shopping? Let's sprinkle in some jargon. Geostrategic choke point. That's a spot you want to hold if you want to control who comes and goes. And then there's resource extraction rights, the licenses that basically let you turn rocks into riches. Greenland's got both. That's why every superpower wants a piece of the pie, even if the pie is frozen solid. Resolution? Right now, it's a staring contest. No one's blinking. But the Arctic is warming literally and figuratively, and whoever wins this battle could control the global supply chain for the next 50 years. Imagine explaining to your grandkids, yeah, the world changed because of a land deal bigger than Alaska. So, let's get real. Would you rather have oil fields in the Middle East or the next motherlode of rare earths in Greenland? That's the trillion-dollar question facing the planet right now. Now, let's get philosophical and maybe a little dramatic. Some folks are calling this manifest destiny too, that old American idea that the U.S. is destined to expand, no matter who's in the way. Trump himself has said he's open to the easy way, which is writing a massive check, or the hard way. Cue nervous laughter and a side-eye from every European diplomat. Setup: an emboldened president, a world still reeling from the Venezuela operation, and a brand new push into the Arctic. The conflict? Allies are nervous, Denmark's digging in, and NATO is showing cracks you could drive a snowmobile through. Some experts warn this could cause a real diplomatic fracture. That's when alliances start to wobble, just as you need them most. Here's some technical flavor. Unilateral action. That's when one country goes it alone, ignoring everyone else. And multilateral diplomacy, where, shocker, you actually talk things out with friends. America's dancing between these two, sometimes in tap shoes, sometimes in clown shoes. Resolution? Honestly, it's anybody's guess. Will Greenland declare independence, squeeze a better deal, or will this go down as the weirdest footnote in diplomatic history? That time America tried to buy an entire country and got ghosted by Denmark. So listeners, manifest destiny reboot or a diplomatic disaster in the making? If you're betting on this, let me know your odds. And remember, in international relations, sometimes the coolest heads really do prevail. Sound effect: soft Arctic wind, then upbeat exit music.